Coalition that is a multiracial and interdenominational organization. We're comprised of over 70 congregations, community organizations, and labor unions working together to give voice to traditionally marginalized folks. NOAH engages ordinary people in the political and economic decisions affecting our lives, acting as a unified voice for the faith and justice community to act on its values in the public arena. Since 2014, we've been at the forefront of the fight for true justice in our criminal justice system. Our efforts, in collaboration with others, have yielded significant results. The implementation of body cameras, the establishment of mental health diversion programs, the forging of powerful relationships to hold public officials accountable. In 2018, alongside Community Oversight Now and other community organizations, we achieved a milestone: the creation of the Community Oversight Board. This victory, supported by nearly 135,000 Nashville voters, 135,000 Nashville voters demonstrated the power of the people to hold our police accountable. However, in 2023, the will of these 135,000 voters was subverted by the state legislature. They preempted the COB, leading to the creation of now the Community Review Board. While the CRB is led by tenacious individuals, their power is limited due to political decisions made at the state level, allegedly influenced by local police. Today, NOAH stands united with Silent No Longer, with the Community Review Board, representatives from the NAACP and National Action Network, Community Oversight Now, and local and state elected officials. We're here because the enormous resources we invest in the Metro Nashville Police Department, our city's guardians. We want, need, and deserve a police force that truly protects all Nashvillians. I'm going to say it again for the people in the back. We want, need, and deserve a police force that truly protects all Nashvillians. In May of this year, a 61-page report by retired Lieutenant Garrett Davidson alleged serious misconduct within MNPD, including sexual misconduct, rank bias, and cooperation between police officials and state legislators that influenced the CRB legislation. Moreover, the CRB has been functioning without a memorandum of understanding for over 1 year. Therefore, today we are calling for accountability on multiple fronts. One, we want a firm date for the completion of the Memorandum of Understanding. Two, we want a date for a comprehensive report on the 61-page investigation. And three, we want real independent counsel for the Community Review Board. Crucially, we are here to support the sexual misconduct policy crafted by the Community Review Board. The Women's Caucus will introduce a resolution at today's Metro Council meeting urging members of the Metro Council, urging MNPD, to adopt this policy. This policy will protect Nashville residents and our siblings in the MNPD, helping to rebuild trust between the community and those who are called to be our guardians. We We stand here today united in our commitment to justice. We stand here today united in our commitment to accountability. We stand here today united for the safety of all Nashvillians. We call on Mayor Freddie O'Connell. We call on our city leaders, on our city council, and especially on the MNPD to take immediate action on these critical issues. We demand a safer, more just Nashville for all. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Timothy Hughes. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and I represent a number of coalition members and organizations here, among them the NAACP of Nashville. And I want to remind those who are under the sound of my voice, as a former member of the Metro Nashville Community Oversight Board, a current member in leadership at the NAACP Nashville branch and the National Action Network of Middle Tennessee, that we, as citizens of the city of Nashville, voted overwhelmingly for the creation of the Metro Nashville Community Oversight Board and stand in solidarity with those who are here today. I also want to take just a brief opportunity to remind those who are under the sound of my voice, who will soon be in the building behind us, that we are paying very close attention to the actions that you are taking in this moment and whether or not you are standing in solidarity with us who are demanding transparency and accountability in this moment. Very soon here, we will have an election in some 59 days where we will be voting on a number of different issues. Among those issues are public safety, public education, health care, justice, accountability for all of those who are sitting on the ballot. And we want you to understand that it is our decision to make sure that those who are leading us are held accountable, and we want to make sure that those who have been named and the powers that are supposed to be vested in those representing the interest of public safety in our community understand that we will not have our voices silenced, we will not be ignored, and we will not be stepped away from in this moment. We demand that you do what it is incumbent upon you to do, which is make sure that our communities are safe and protected for all of its residents. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you, Timothy. I'm Greta McClain with Silent No Longer Tennessee. And as the great John Lewis told us, if you see something that isn't right, isn't fair, isn't just, you have a moral obligation to do something about it. And that is exactly what Silent No Longer has tried to do since April of 2020. And by the end of 2020, we had 69 MNPD employees come to us saying that they either experienced sexual harassment or assault. 69. That number's now 92. That's 7 additional victims each year willing to come to us, but we have no idea how many are still suffering in silence. What we do know is that 30 recently said sexual harassment is still rampant. 26 told me that they haven't reported sexual misconduct because they fear they won't get backup on calls. In case you don't realize it, and people who haven't been in law enforcement may not, if an officer does not get backup and is injured and can't do anything, the person that called for assistance, they're the ones that are now vulnerable to serious harm. And that is completely unacceptable. What makes me so passionate about this is the fact that I understand the pain that MNPD clients share. because I too was sexually harassed while I was an MNPD officer. And I did not report my 2017 rape because I was a detective in the adult sex abuse unit, and I saw how things were handled. In fact, I was staffing a case with one of my supervisors who told me, technically he said no, but she went into his bedroom and let him take off her blouse. Yeah, she said no, but she was really saying yes. Close the case. That's what a supervisor in an adult sex abuse unit, that's not how they should be acting. Now, for those who have accused me and Silent No Longer of being anti-police, nothing could be further from the truth. I am proud to have worn that uniform, and I still respect law enforcement, and I applaud the dedication and courage of officers who risk their lives every single day to keep us and our loved ones safe. But, there's always a but. We cannot and we will not ignore the systemic and pervasive issues that are occurring within MNPD. And let me give you another example. An employee told me that an officer told her in very, very graphic detail exactly what he would do to her sexually if he ever has the chance. Then she went on to tell me, quote, "I'm terrified he will look up my address and show up at my house. I now stay with different friends because I don't feel safe in my own home." Think about that for a moment. A healthy, well-functioning organization is defined by its leadership's commitment to prioritize the safety and the well-being of the public and of its employees. But considering the number of employees who've contacted Silent No Longer, looking at it, it certainly does not appear, at least, that MNPD is at all healthy or well-functioning. And Chief Drake had a chance to change that, and he chose not to. He chose not to accept the Police Policy Commission and Mayor Cooper's request to implement a policy back in 2020. And the same stuff, the same misconduct continued. And since then, we've heard Chief Drake say, "We have a policy in place." Great. The policy isn't working. And if a patrol strategy doesn't work, you change the strategy. If a policy doesn't work, you change the policy.
Time to change.
Thank you. And for those that don't realize it, these deliberate inactions not only endanger us, not only endanger our loved ones, it endangers everyone that comes to Nashville, and it endangers our pocketbooks too. Because our tax dollars are being spent to defend the indefensible actions of some MNPD employees. And I'm sure that y'all would agree that our tax dollars would be better spent on hiring more teachers, more counselors, more aides, so that our children get the time, attention, support, and education that they deserve. And as long as MNPD is not held accountable, and as long as this continues to persist, our money is going to continue to go towards paying lawsuits. And Rabbi Abraham Heschel said, "Morally speaking, there is no limit to the concern one must feel for the suffering of human beings. Indifference to evil is worse than evil itself. Some are guilty, but all are responsible." By allowing the misconduct to continue over the past 4 years, much as I hate to say it, MNPD leadership is guilty. And if Metro Council chooses to be indifferent, and if Mayor O'Connell chooses not to mandate, using his authority under the Metro Charter, to implement and enforce the CRB policy in full, then they will ultimately be responsible for all further suffering. Lastly, for all the clients that I know are watching live streams, I just want to remind you, never give up. It's now my great pleasure to introduce a fearless woman who I am so proud to call a friend, Afton Ben.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. I'm State Representative Afton Bain, and we are here today to address not just the need for police accountability, but the broader issue of state overreach and its impact on our community. What we are witnessing is a pattern of abuse of power, intimidation, and control, both within the police department and from state lawmakers who have undermined the will of our people. When the Community Oversight Board was dismantled and replaced with a weaker Community Review Board, it was an example of state overreach at its worst. Nashville voters demanded oversight, accountability, and transparency in 2018, yet state lawmakers pushed through legislation that stripped away those protections. This is not just a policy disagreement, it's a direct attack on the people's voice. It is an act of control, one that mirrors the very behavior we are trying to address within the Metro Nashville Police Department.
Exactly.
We know that there are serious allegations of misconduct within MNPD, including claims of harassment, intimidation, and sexual violence. The refusal to provide a transparent investigation into these complaints is another way of shielding those in power from being held accountable. This is a pattern we cannot ignore. Whether it's lawmakers overstepping their bounds or police officers abusing their authority, the people of Nashville deserve better. The parallels between state overreach and the abuses happening within the police department are clear. Both represent a dangerous consolidation of power, a disregard for accountability, and a dismissal of the people's will. It's time for real transparency, it's time for real accountability, and it's time for Nashville to be heard. Thank you. And now, Council Member Joy Stiles. Oh, excuse me, sorry, Dr. Richards.
Good afternoon, and thank you all so very much for coming. I appreciate that you all show up when we have pertinent issues that this council and that this city has to deal with. 4 years ago in 2020, I want to thank Greta McLean and Silent No Longer because they came to the Women's Caucus. They came to us and they explained that there were several people within MNPD that had concerns about being retaliated against, being able to file complaints, being harassed because they were women, and prey around several predators. And we said, absolutely not. And at that time, we brought in Diane Lance from the Office of Family Safety and Shannon Hall, the Director of Metro Human Relations. And at that time, we came up with a policy that people would be able to file grievances without using their name. They would be anonymous, and they should have been safe. And it looks like, despite the fact that we came up with a plan internally, it didn't take place. Now, are we surprised? Not really. Things get swept under the rug around here all the time. You may be familiar, little thing called Metro Arts. Been dealing with that too. So accountability is a huge problem in this city. Some of us pretend like we don't see it, and then there are a couple of us that are willing to take those body blows to fight for others that can't. I want to thank the Community Review Board. I want to thank Silent No Longer, Greta McLean, Jill Fisher, Alicia Haddock. The work that you did on This policy is fantastic. When you came to us, the Women's Caucus, last month to let us know that you had come up with a policy, we were happy to support. And tonight, I am proud to say we have a resolution in support of this policy being implemented, and I fully expect that MNPD recognizes that this is a serious problem and it needs to be addressed. And I plan on having a conversation with Chief Drake about this. I'm not going to bash MNPD. My experience with Chief Drake has been very pleasant, and I am going to state on the record that he will understand this and will understand that right now all eyes are on you to do the right thing. So use your good character and implement the policy. Because what happens after that, if it doesn't happen, is just unpleasant. So again, I appreciate you all for being here. The Women's Caucus is fully in support of this policy. We will vote on it tonight. We will stand shoulder to shoulder with the individuals that you have heard from and are about to hear from. That change is on the way. We will no longer accept status quo, same old, same old. Something happened to you, oh, suck it up, buttercup. No, we're not doing that anymore. Today is a day of accountability. It's finally come. Thank you. Community Review Board, Joe Fisher.
Thanks to the Women's Caucus and Councilmember Joy, Stiles, and the co-sponsors. So I'm Jill Fisher, the Executive Director of the Community Review Board, and I want to thank everyone gathered here today as we discuss a policy report that is long overdue. In 2020, the Policing Policy Commission, which was made up of about 40 members of the community, made multiple recommendations related to policing practices of our Metro National Police Department. One that we are discussing today is the Zero Tolerance Sexual Misconduct Policy Report. This report has been a labor of love for us, and I want to thank my team who helped me do this work. Ansley Potter, Dylan DePriest, and Travis Strachan. Also Gracie, her name, Catherine Rule, who worked on it initially. When I began this journey of police accountability work, I heard many stories of rampant sexual misconduct within the department. However, it wasn't until I began to take in complaints from citizens that I realized the public's reporting was even more dire. It was the citizen complaints that came to us for the lack of communication when they had reported, ineffective investigations, and a lack of trauma-informed care, and a host of other responses that led our team to move forward with creating a best practice sexual misconduct policy report. We investigated citizen complaints related to sexual misconduct and knew that we had a tremendous opportunity to address the issues that we saw as flaws in an existing policy that was written with fault lines of ambiguity. We began the research to determine who had, we investigated citizen complaints related to sexual misconduct and knew that we had a tremendous opportunity to address the issues that we saw as flaws in an existing policy that was written with fault lines of ambiguity. We began the research to determine who had the best zero-tolerance sexual misconduct policies in the country, and Chicago, Baltimore, Seattle, and Oakland, with each of those cities having a Department of Justice consent decree to support the policy, something we hope to avoid in our city. We know that we have created a policy that is a best practice policy, and we sought subject matter experts for their input, like the International Chiefs of Police, the End Violence Against Women International, the Nashville Family Safety Center, and the Department of Justice. I believe this policy will provide extraordinary protections for the employees of the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department and safeguards for the members of the public. This policy should be implemented quickly, which will tell the employees and the community of Nashville that sexual misconduct in our police department, no matter by whom, no matter their rank, no matter their status, will not be tolerated and handled, and will be handled fairly and expeditiously through to a well-defined process found in this zero-tolerance sexual misconduct policy. Please support this policy, the adoption and the implementation. We're calling on our mayor, we're calling on the police chief to move this through the system as quickly as possible. I want to thank Councilmember Joy Stiles again and the co-sponsors, as well as the board members of the Community Review Board, our board chair Alicia Haddock, who has stood shoulder to shoulder with me, member Mark Wynn for his support, and Silent No Longer, NOAA, Community Oversight Now, the NAACP, NAN, and the entire Nashville community. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Call to action. We have heard today the concerns of the community. We have heard from our speakers that the community, regardless of what our state leadership wants, should hold our police officers accountable. We have heard about the importance of a police department that plays by the rules for the safety of women and anyone who might be the victim of sexual assault or misconduct. Acknowledging these needs and the passion for accountability, which is really the passion for relationship and for trust. We have this call to action. We want you to attend the Metro Council meeting this evening to show support for the Women's Caucus Sexual Misconduct Resolution. There's a call to keep on working with the organizations that are here today. Silent No Longer, the Community Review Board, NOAA, NAACP, National Action Network, to see that MNPD institutes the new sexual misconduct policy and keep working with NOAA and the CRB for our next big steps. We of NOAA ask you to attend the NOAA public meeting on Sunday, October 6th at Riverside Seventh-day Adventist Church, where we will push for the sexual misconduct policy and a date for the Memorandum of Understanding, a timeline for the release of the 61-page report investigation. And we call for true independent counsel for the CRB. We are handing out flyers with more information about the public meeting. Finally, let us close in prayer. Lord God, I pray that what has been said today has brought you glory and nurture the bond of community. We ask that you energize us, Metro government, community organizations, to continually promote justice. I ask that you grant us safety as we depart this gathering, and for all your goodness and mercy, we give you thanks and praise. And we all say amen. I want to say thanks for attending the NOAA SNL CRB press conference.